Hey everybody, welcome to Obscurities in Miniatures, and we're back for another year and another round of Obscurities in Literature. And I'm going to get 2023, when this video is first going up, started off with some classics, at least from my perspective. And while this isn't exactly the oldest book, yeah, it's been out of print, but it does seem to come back in now and then. But this is a collection of a lot of the early artwork from the Horus Heresy, and that is Alan Merritt's Visions of Heresy. This is a big honkin' book. This was put out by Black Library, I want to say in the early 2000s. Like I said, though, it does seem to come back every now and then. Had a pretty hefty price tag for the time it was released. There's no British price. That's interesting. Like I said, it is a big book when you have regular size comics, just for a size reference. Copra's an interesting one too. Maybe one of these days. I think I've got all 5 rounds. 4 or 5. 5. But that's a subject for... Yeah, that's a very High Lord Tamberlane looking book, isn't it? It's out there. Anyways. Let's talk Heresy. So originally, I want to say this was published, and somebody can probably correct me if I'm wrong. I want to say it was originally 3. I do have 3 fingers on each hand showing there, not 6, but 3 different books that kind of went over the whole breadth of the Horus Heresy. And one of the coolest things, I love this book 1. I don't know when book 2 is ever going to come out, if it ever comes out. But it is well over almost 400 pages. It is over 400 pages of nothing but good old classic 30K lore. So if you're a fan of the Games Workshop stuff, especially the early days when we had the Emperor running around doing his thing, then there is absolutely a lot to like in this book. And one of the coolest things, one of the things I most appreciate, is the fact that we actually have the artists credited for their work. This is something that I really wish modern 40K stuff would have more regularly. Not just the blurb, usually at the beginning of like a codex or something, but I really wish, and I mean, artists always, I feel, deserve recognition for the work that they put in, the effort. It takes a lot. And even when you're trying to follow, studio guidelines, it's still, to produce stuff of some of this caliber is quite impressive. There is a lot of text throughout the book, but I'll be honest, that's not why most of us are going to read it. This is one of those books, I hate to say, it's like a coffee table book to me that you pick up every now and then and you read a blurb. I've owned it for years, and I can't honestly admit to ever reading it in the actual order of the text. Never happened yet. Will it? Probably not. One of the coolest things, though, that I appreciate of this book is the fact that we begin and end both with the Emperor, and as we skip over the codex there. Oh, darn it. I was going to say. And the ever-classic Horus and the Emperor on the bridge there. It looks like that's what I was looking for. These classic pieces. I want to say, I remember these from back in the day. They were classic and full of atmosphere back then, just as much as they are now. And Adrian Smith has always been a talented artist, and we will always enjoy his work, especially if he is continuing to work on his Chronicles of Hate. I really dug that. And with the Cool Mini Comics case edition, I think they were making with the new versions of some figures. Something to look out for. My golden boys. I have always loved me the Custodes, even when they look like Pillarmen out of JoJo's Bizarre Adventure. So yeah, jumping back to the beginning, you will see plenty of John Blanche artwork throughout this. You have the whole starting of the glory days of Terra. I mean, if you just want this for concept art, for paint schemes, there is a lot to like. Ship designs are in there. Some are maybe better than others. I mean, look at this stuff. personally, I've always liked Blanche's stuff, and I think it really works well on a large scale. Nice Adrian Smith Custodes there. I don't remember that artwork, actually. I don't know when he did those, or what the original commissioning of them was for. I just do not recall. Good old Constantine Valdor. Like, I even have mine handy. Ah, shoot, never mind. I put them away, actually. This piece looks like it was originally somewhat smaller, but I always like Neil Roberts' digital manipulation, a lot like Clinton Langley stuff. I don't think there's any Clinton Langley art in this book, but I mean, all of your favorites are going to be in here. Good old Ahriman. Shot of Prospero. Yeah, there are words in here, too. Somewhere. So, somebody who was there the first time around, because I want to say this is like my dark ages, those early 2000s, late 90s maybe, when they were really starting to get the Horsey up. The Horus Heresy up and running. I want to say I was too busy schmoozing with the wife and getting married and that kind of stuff. Starting the family, getting set in my career, didn't have much time for tabletop stuff. I can't remember seeing that Adrian Smith art there. Now this is a classic piece. I tried making one of those deodorant stick Gravitag vehicles back in the day. It didn't look that good. Beaky armor, old school missile launchers, good times. Dorn. Oops, I'm getting too excited there, flipping pages. Yeah, those Neil Roberts illustrations were always nice. I'm just like turning chunks here. I'm like maybe halfway through the book, and you can see there's just tons and tons of very nice, detailed 40K artwork. You're going to get a lot of bang for your buck, but unfortunately, at this juncture in time, as of me filming this book yet again seems to have disappeared from publication, and hopefully it will be back. So I don't want you guys having to spend too many bucks to get that bang. A lot of this artwork did have its origins in other places. And here we see Horus post turn of a heel turn. Like, if only my Dark Angels actually looked that cool. They gotta have the raggedy robes on, I think. Otherwise, they're generic dark green. I don't remember seeing this one before. Mortarion by Blanche. Dark green Space Marines. Now this had to have been either, was it, I don't know if it was in Rogue Trader or was it in one of the red and yellow books. I feel like it was in one of those red and yellow books, but I could be wrong. Those books I adored. I read those cover to cover to the point where all of them fell apart. The binding on them sucked. I remember busting this out when I was painting my Sisters of Silence, just to get some other ideas on paint jobs. Some of this stuff, Colin McNeil, that name sounds very familiar, but it has almost a Bisley-esque, that late 2000 AD stuff, once Bisley had really left his mark. I feel like it took the comics and games industry a bit of time to kind of move away from that rough and gritty style, but, you know, it was the 90s after all. So yeah, while I said there is a lot of text in here, there's just plenty. I mean, let's face it, I obviously bought this just to flip through and look at the art. And if that's what you want to do, there's actually a cool index in the back that even says Artwork Index. But rather than have it actually based by artists or anything, it's based by what you see. You have a whole thing here on the Primarchs. You've got various chapters of Marines. You've got some of the important characters, you know, pages where they're being discussed. The Luna Wolves, back when they were called that. Do we have anything on the Adeptus Custodes? The Legions Astartes? I guess not. Imperial. Oh, no, I take that back. We do. We actually have a whole breakdown of the various Legio Custodes mentions within the book. Mechanicum, Sisters of Silence, Agents of the Sigillite. Oh, who were the Agents of the Sigillite? Were those like the pre-Grey Knights, if I remember? Because Malcador, that name sounds familiar, but yeah. Anyway, there's a lot of stuff to like here. So hopefully over the duration of the next few weeks / months, or whenever I bother to upload this stuff for my usual Friday books, we will see plenty of classic, at least in my opinion, art books and assorted things here on Obscurities and Miniatures. So with that said, if you're in the market for one of these, good luck, happy hunting. It might be a better idea just to find the smaller versions of these, but I definitely think if you're a fan of the Heresy stuff and you haven't ever read any of the novels, this is a great primer as well as a great collection of very, very gritty 40k artwork. So with that said, this has been High Lord Tamberlane with Obscurities and Miniatures, saying thanks for watching, and we will see you back here soon. Bye-bye.